Fari Hamzei. How you doing today?
I'm pretty good, sir. Always a pleasure to be here. How are you?
Good, good. Sorry about all the technical difficulties, but we got you on here. And what are
No
your
worries.
plans for Christmas Eve and Christmas Eve day?
Kind of late tonight, but tomorrow I've got to be at the function, Christmas Day, and actually it's a bunch of literary people, writers and so forth, so it should be fun. Every once in a while, I mean, this is local Chicago. Every once in a while, I go to that one. I kind of rotate between among different friends here in Chicago, and this year's their turn, so should be good. The literary types are kind of creative types, very different than engineers and especially financial types. So it's less boring and interesting characters.
Okay, all
Of
right.
course, if MBH will be in tow. Hopefully, she'll be entertained also. Yeah, you have to always worry about your other half in these setups, not just you being entertained. They got to be entertained too. Otherwise, the ride home is not going to be pleasant.
Do you have any kids,
That's
Fari?
that's advice to the advice from the wise.
Do you have any kids?
No kids. No, no, no. Don't even go there. Are
Okay.
you nuts? Could I be doing what I'm doing if I had kids? Come
Okay.
on.
Farley likes to trade 24
Recalibrate.
hours a day. He doesn't
Recalibrate.
have time for kids.
All right, so let's get to the markets here. What I missed you last week. Snapback rally in the markets, flirting with new all-time highs. Kind of a light volume
Yes.
day. Getting out at 1 o'clock today. Is today?
Yes.
Do you try and be the man in the markets like today, and make it or break it, or you just kind of sit back and trim some positions?
Well, a little bit of both. We had some option trades. That we had some spies. There were not enough, but there were a partial hedge, not enough, because we were short. So that we had some long call spreads. So we took those off yesterday. We had some FB that was on, I don't know, like mid-November, even before I left for LA. Those we took off because it hit 81.
Yep.
We had, I think, 75 80s or 76 80 spreads. They hit 81, so you have to take them off. So January, we still have time. But my fear always is stay that decay this time of the year. But the FB had his own mind, and it was, rushing up to 81. So that we took off Monday. Yesterday we took off those spies. Now, I've had a couple of future trades on, a little bit of a hedge, actually remnants of, unfortunately, the Fed trade and Miss Auntie Jeanette. So I've tried to play those on and kind of repair. I have to report not with very much luck. So I've been getting my nose bloody a little bit. A couple of days I did okay. A couple of days I did not. So I'm still beginning to repair those, and I'll probably take some more off and kind of a trade in a zone. Not looking at got all of a sudden I have a core investment in futures. Are you with me? When the trade goes bad against you, and you kind of say, okay, I'm gonna go double margin, not look at it, and put it aside. I'm gonna trade. Unfortunately, I don't have other. It's not like oil where you have multiple what do you call it, active contracts. You only have one, which is March. So I've been playing ES and NQ against each other, not looking at my pickled ES trade. That's short, and so I've kind of repaired it somewhat. The problem is sometimes it blows up in your face, depending on what kind of sausage grind you're in. A little bit of that will continue, and then I'll probably go to full hedge and shut it off.
Okay.
I mean, last night I put to full hedge and shut it off. I'm getting up this morning, and I'm going to take part of a hedge off and then trade around it and so forth, because it's just overnight risk is not worth it. It's too thin. Markets are very, very thin. So,
Okay.
That's another good point you're making.
It's a chance to get to know yourself. You know how fragile you are. You think you know it all, but they teach you a lesson. So.
That's a good point you're making, though, is how thin the markets are here. And we know this week is going to be very thin. Now we're right into the holiday season. And the next week,
Right.
it's always a thin trading week here, too. How do you approach it? Like when the liquidity a little bit less, I know sometimes on some individual stocks, you can get some pretty violent swings because liquidity is lower. How do you approach these lighter volume, lower liquidity weeks?
Well, you got to change your scale. You just have to trade higher time frame. You got to trade the if you're used to 5 minutes or 10 minutes, go to 15 or 30. I'm right now. The big thing in front of me is my hourly charts. That kind of gives me an overall trend what I should be expecting. And also, I measure the relative performance to make sure I don't caught on the wrong side. Right? Like for example, yesterday NQ was constantly under pressure. Why? Biotechs. So part of my hedge yesterday was wrong, and it took me a few minutes early on to figure out why. Well, more than a few minutes. Why? Because if your results are not working mathematically, you can't bang your head against the wall. You have to figure out why. You got to come up with a remedy. And it turned out that the hedge was less than perfect. Why? Just if you look at all the biotechs, we're getting smashed. And even though Apple was doing okay, Google actually was good. Part of it, people was still good. Twitter was very well, but they're just getting smashed because of the overall weight of the biotech. So what you do, you have to add to your exposure there if you need better, more hedging, or accept that you better off maybe have no hedge for several hours until the hedge comes back. This morning, the hedge is pretty good. We've done, and I look at it as per relative performance, we've done about the same as the percentages. 0.10 versus 0.11. So, look, if you're trading a few contracts, it doesn't make a difference. You don't have to worry about it. But, sometimes I get wild. So.
Okay.
I use more than I should, and it's stupid. And you get caught here. Now, there's two issues. This week is very different than next week. This week, you usually have a statistically, seasonality-wise, you have an upper bias to the holiday, to Christmas. But next week, it's wild if you go either way. If you go back in history, you'll see, for example, I don't know, a couple of years back, was it 2011, 2002? They smashed it down to we closed at, I don't know, McClellan's ledger of 240 negative on a New Year's Eve. I mean, talk about depression. Going into, it was who were long. So next week is a different problem, usually. That could go either way. You got to have an open mind. This week is up bias. So.
Okay, what about Twitter? We were talking about that, and man, you made a good call. You got me out of my 40 calls when even at a profit. Now we've.
Do I get soup? I get soup?
We haven't had any soup bets, Fari.
I take late fees. I take, penalties. I'll take all of that. That's okay.
But what do you think? Were you able
Just
to
kidding.
did you get anything on in that level?
No, I have not. No, I don't. No. I'll be honest with you. When we got into the oil patch hits, and when we got into the oil, the market dropped that hard into Tuesday last week. No, I should have. Actually, I should have really added more SPY trades on. No, I didn't. The other trade I didn't get in, to be honest with you, was BA. And I've talked about it in the chat room, kind of scolded myself. Why didn't I do something on BA to the upside? And BA's done beautiful. No, I didn't. The part of a problem is this, Joel. You got theta decay. If this thing doesn't move, okay, between now and, let's say, January 2nd, January 3rd, whenever our first day back is, you're going to pay dearly in theta, unless you go and buy, I don't know, March and June or April's all the way out there. But I don't trade that far out. I usually trade between 45 days to, let's say, 75 days cycle.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be, for me, the sweet spot of the calendar. 45 days to 75 day cycle. So if I'm off, I have a chance maybe to repair one time. If not, and if I'm correct, I get a decent return percentage-wise without putting a lot of outlay. And remember, I do spreads, so I kill some of the theta, I kill some of the vol, but not all of it. So no, I didn't. I should have. Let me give credit where it's due. By the way, my good friend Larry McDonald, his handle on Twitter is @PutTheWordBond. I talked about it on Twitter the other day. On Tuesday night, at the He was on the floor at the CNBC post, and he said, "We have contango on VIX. This should be it." This is way before FOMC communique next day, way before anybody had any clue how Auntie Janet is going to handle herself, so calm and such a great demeanor that make this 800-point rally in 24 hours, or was that his call on contango. The VIX had a contango. I mean, if you look at VIX futures, the spot was so much more expensive than cost of carry that you'd say, okay, something is off. Here, right now, is where the big boys are worried. And they're up the VIX so high up. That was the low. So credit has to be given to him. It was a great call.
Fari, I'm just.
And by the way, which I did act upon myself. I gotta admit that. We all have flaws. I've got plenty myself.
Fari, I asked you in the chat before you came on here, but I want to ask you here again. We're looking at oil here trading down $1.17 right now, 55.95. And this is getting dangerously close to the lows that we set just last week. What are you thinking on this oil here? And if oil does start to crater here and start breakdown again, does that hurt the overall market?
It's a double whammy. It's going to create. We're going to have 3 or 4 states that are going to go into depression. Oklahoma, parts of Texas, the ones that maybe even Louisiana. Some areas were very, very oil dependent will be under extreme pressure, and it won't be for a short period of time. By the way, to me, this is a secular move. This is not cyclical. I don't think this is going to come back that easily. By the way, the dollar is not helping either. The strengthening dollar. Also, it's going to create problems overseas. Iran, Venezuela, Russia. The big beneficiary here is China, except they're also slowing down with their shadow banking back in under control. Tighten reins on shadow banking, which probably is. You guys are overnight what was going on. Here, the airlines are going to do great. Retail is going to do great. We've already seen that. We've already seen the shift in the dollars there. But we're also going to have some banking issues here. Some oil patch credit issues will come up. I don't know if I can buy the argument that we could be in 40s or 20s. Okay, I have not lowered my target from 55. I'm saying from 56. That's the last target I put on. I mean, I heard 40s. I heard some people talk about 20s. I just don't see us be able going down there. The problem we have is a glut, and it's what's called a prisoner's dilemma. Who's going to cut first when they all have a same fate? Okay, who's going to be the one who's going to cut some production here? I don't think anyone is going to step in. Some have no choice but keep on drilling. Why? Because you may have to. If not, you can't hold the rig. You got to let your labor go. You're still in cash flow, especially smaller guys. Now, we're about the glut is about 11%. Okay, if you say equally shared, which is against the law, they cannot cooperate quietly with each other. If they do that, Exxon, Chevron, and EOG, they have to cut off all their local expressions in the U.S. That's not going to happen.
Okay.
So this will continue.
Okay, Fari, we're going to let you go here. Fari Hamzei, founder of Hamzei Analytics, joins us every Wednesday here on Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep, brought to you by MarketFi. Fari gives us his colorful and informative outlook on the market. Fari, sorry a little bit late getting to you today, but we kept you on a little bit later. Have a good holiday.
No worries, my friend.
I hope you behave at that function tonight. And
tomorrow, I will. Merry Christmas to all, and we'll see you next week, right before on New Year's Eve. Okay.
Okay.
All the best.
All right.
And don't drink and drive. Get an Uber.
Okay. All right. Final words of advice from Fari.